guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be working on the extended trot. I just started working on it with this horse, and I'm going to show you my process for kind of how I teach it and how to troubleshoot some of those issues that are inevitably going to arise when you start working on this maneuver. So let's get started. So the extended trot is arguably one of the most important maneuvers in the ranch riding, so we want to make it stand out, okay? If you're out there piddling around and your horse is barely making any transition from the slow jog to the extended trot, then you're not going to score very high on that maneuver. So there's one of three things that I often see happen when people go to the extended trot in the Chopin, and that is that either the horse, there's no change really, there's visually no change. The rider might stand up or start posting or something, but the horse's gait virtually doesn't change at all. So we don't want to see that. Transitions are very important in ranch riding, and there has to be that clean change from one maneuver to the next, or from one speed to the next. Or the next thing I see happen is that they'll ask for the extended trot and they'll start posting or stand, and the horse eventually gets there, but again, there's no clean transition that shows when that horse went from a jog to an extended trot. And the third thing that I see happen, it's more rare, but it still does happen, is that the horse is so anxious to get into that extended trot, or he's so triggered by when you stand up or when you start posting, that he launches into it and you have this horse running off almost, and those kinds of horses tend to break gaits in the pattern, so we don't want that to happen either. I'm going to show you how I work through some of that, and obviously this is this horse's second session, maybe his third session working on this, so you're still going to see a lot of holes in the extended trot and where we're at with it, okay? But I'll show you how I work on some of those. So the first thing I want to be able to do, and make sure that you can do this as well, is that you can ride around at a jog on a loose rein, okay? If you can't ride this jog here and your horse isn't accountable to stay in that speed without you having to hold on him the whole time like this, then you're probably not ready to open him up and go to the extended trot, because then you're never going to be able to bring him back down, okay? I want my horse to know if I'm in a neutral position and I'm sitting, this is where I want him to stay. And obviously on a green horse, there's going to be moments where they might have surges and they might want to speed up or slow down. Sorry, buddy. And you can kind of check them in and control that. But if your horse is always like high throttle and trying to run through your hand, then don't start working on the extended trot. This horse has quite a bit more go than whoa, I would say. And he has a tendency to want to do that. He has a tendency to kind of have a little bit more of a gas pedal than I'd like him to. So we spend a lot more time at a slow jog and working on his transitions and making sure he was rating off my seat before I started working on the extended trot. Let's go ahead and bring him up though and see where he's at. I'm going to go ahead and start posting here, and I really like to post with my horses because I feel like it really pushes them out. It kind of gives them a rhythm there and they have something to read off of. Now you can see there was quite a bit of a nice transition there. There we go, quite a nice change. I'm going to bring him back down. He didn't really rate off my seat, so I'm just going to gently back him up there. I don't make it a big correction. I don't want him slamming on the brakes. I don't want him falling on his nose. But I also want him to know when I sit down, something's got to change, okay? And so yesterday when I worked on this, every time I would sit down, there was absolutely no change. He just kept on blasting away at that extended trot, and I had to gently hold him there till he finally came back down to me, and then I'd back him up. What you don't want to do is drag that horse into the ground and make a huge overcorrection and make him anxious about this. We want him really quiet and just listening and waiting for our cues, instead of building anxiety about any maneuver. So I'm going to go ahead and gently push him up here, and I don't expect him to pick up that fast trot right away. I'm going to ease him into it at the beginning. There we go. Nice speed right there, and then we'll just sit down. Nothing happened. He apologized there, came right back. I'm just going to let him sit there a minute. Good job. So when I first start working on this, I always go from the extended trot to a stop. I don't go from extended trot back to the jog. I don't go from extended trot to a walk. Mainly, I always do extended trot to stop until that horse is really, really rating off my seat. And once he has that figured out, we can start working on the other transitions. But sometimes, you know, we always say exaggerate to teach. Sometimes if you go from an extended trot back down to a jog, it takes so much longer for that horse to absorb what you actually want him to do, or to comprehend what you actually want him to do, because you spent so much time, like it's just such a gray zone. So it makes it easier if you go from extended trot, stop. Every single time, every time you sit down, wait for him to respond, and then give him that correction, stop him, do whatever you have to do. All right, I'll gently push him up here. That was a really nice change. Good job. And then I'll sit down, nothing happened. draw him into the ground, and I'm going to back him up there just because there was really no response. There we go. Good job. And I'll just let him sit here just a moment because, again, we want this horse to stay very relaxed and quiet. He's getting a little fast right there at the jog, so we're just going to fix that. I want to make sure he's listening. I'm going to say, hey, buddy, we're not running off here. If at any point you go to jog off and your horse is already taken into that extended trot, go back and fix your jog. Make sure that horse is staying right there with you and you can put him back on that loose rein and he's not running off on you, okay? Go ahead and start pushing him back up, and I'll just bump him with my legs. I'll drive as I post. And this will get more refined as you get prepared to show. But right now, I want it to be really exaggerated for him. That's a really nice extended trot, and he hasn't asked to break gait at all during this time. Nothing happened. Draw him into the ground. Gently back him up. There we go. Always be soft in your hands, slow to your correction. And when you sit down, give that horse a few strides. Give him an opportunity to make the right decision. You don't want to just sit down and then yank on his face. Push and ask for just a little bit more. He's about to break gait. There, he broke gait. I'm just going to gently pick up, and then we'll go back to the extended trot. If that horse continued to run through the bridle after I picked him up, then I would go ahead and go back to a complete stop. But he didn't. He really answered to me when I picked up on his face, so I just kind of drove him back into the extended trot. Sit down. There. I had to pick up my reins a little bit, and his transition was slow. But he mentally connected it, he made an effort, and he came down. That was good. I'm going to go ahead and take him to the right now, just to change it up a little bit for this horse. I don't like to do one thing on one side too terribly long. All right, back to our jog. Make sure that he's right there with me. He's getting a little fast. So I'm going to say, hey, buddy. We're still at a jog. There we go. Make sure he's right there with me. Okay. Now I feel like the horse is relaxed and connected. Good job. We'll go ahead and go to that extended trot. Gently push him up. I don't make this too fast. He's still not there. He's kind of weaving, ducking and diving a little bit. So I'm just going to try and steady him up a little bit, get that impulsion going the right direction. Wait on him. Wait on him here. There it is. And we'll come back down. So notice there, when I sat down, nothing really changed. But when I picked up those reins, he was like, oh, I need to do something. And he really answered to me. Pretty proud of him for that. Obviously, it's not perfect. I mean, it's going to get a lot better. But you have to give those horses those separate stages. You got to ask them here, check on them here, and then give them those chances to respond. And eventually, if you're gentle with them, and you're fair with them, they're going to start responding to your cues faster and faster without becoming anxious. He's right there with me. There. Oops, a little too much. All right. Start pushing him out. Not a whole lot of change, so I'm going to get just a little bit more aggressive with my legs, put a little bit more energy in there. There's the change. There's the extended trot. Push him just a little more. Now, as my horse starts getting a little more comfortable and confident, I want to push him out further and further and further. And you can see me start doing that just a little bit more these last couple times. What I'm trying to do is get him just to that point where I feel him almost about to break gait, and then I quit, okay? We don't want to wait till he actually breaks gait. It's going to happen every now and then and again, but you want to try and catch that before he actually does break gait, okay? So you want to try to get to where you're just on that verge, just on that line, push him out, past his comfort zone as far as he can go, and then stop before he actually makes the wrong decision. right there. There's a comfortable extension, but not a great one. We want a great one. And we're not going to get that in the first couple days, obviously. But you'll see glimpses of greatness. There it is. I like that a lot. Still a little slow, but I'm going to keep on pushing him here because I'm not getting that softness either. So I'm working on a couple things right here. Working on getting him on that circle. There it is. Didn't really come back to me there, so I'll back him up. There you go. Good boy. And I'll probably do it one more time if I can get a great extension. What I'm waiting for right now is actually to find that really amazing transition back down, because that's the most important thing you're going to be working on in this extended trot. I would say obviously we need a great extension, but transitions are almost as equally important, so the judges see what's happening. They see that you're in control, that you know where your horse's feet are, what they're doing, and you're in control of the speed at all times, okay? Gently push him up, and eventually we'll get to where we push him up much faster into this extended trot. But right now I don't want that horse getting worried or jumping into it really quick. That's really nice. Once again, down. That's it. Good boy. So there I didn't have to pick up my hands at all. He didn't just slam on the brakes and stop, but he eased himself right back down there. The mental connection was really, really strong in that stop. So I'm going to call it there. We're not going to work on any more today. You can go ahead and work on some other exercise, take him around, but that's about what the amount of time that I would probably spend working on the extended trot for one day. I don't like to drill on things. I like to just work on them a little bit and then let the horse sit, go do something else. And you also don't want that horse getting super, super wired to wanting to do that extended trot, all right? So after I work on the extended trot a little bit, obviously I go back to my jog. I do steering exercises, make sure I can pitch that horse away on a loose rein, and he stays right there with me at that slow jog instead of wanting to pick up speed into that extended trot again if I'm not asking him to. And another thing, I'm going to point this out, and because it is relevant, is that I never, ever stand to go into the lopes. When you go from the extended trot transition to the lope, and I get asked this a lot, how do you make that clean so your horses aren't confused? I always sit back down for a couple steps. So 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, and then ask for that lope, okay? So it's barely visible to the eye, but it gives my horse enough of a cue that he knows something's changing. So I never just go post, 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 and then it goes to lope, and then I'm like, okay, go ahead and lope off, because that just confuses your horse that much more when you're actually asking to do it. It makes you way more prone to those breaking gaits and stuff in your pattern. Anyway, I hope this video helps. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. I'd be glad to help in any way I can. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.